The first show of 2025. And I must say, Happy New Year to everyone who tunes in on a weekly basis. And for those who are new here to the Lure Lab, a part of the Serious Angler Network. As always, I'm your host, the captain, Andrew Full. And today we have a cool one. It's arguably one of my absolute favorite ways to catch a smallmouth. And we're going to be talking about it in winter fishing, and that is a jigging spoon. And I was browsing over on Omnia to see which jigging spoons they offer, and they have the War Eagle jigging spoon in stock right now in a couple different colors. Looks like white and gold are going to be the ones that you have a shot at picking up if you want. They'll be listed down in the description. You can save 10% with Serious 10. So make sure you head over to Omni and check those out. But the jigging spoon, super effective when the water gets below 50 degrees. All the way around the country, you're going to be able to put a lot of bass in the boat. I've caught some really big smallmouth in it in the fall before it turns to winter, and also as soon as the ice comes off the lake and the fish are really grouped up and there's bait fish around. But we're going to bring a pro on here and get his take on the stamped jigging spoon. And a little birdie told me he's won quite a bit of money on it. So I think you guys who tune in are going to enjoy this one. He's been a frequent flyer recently on the Serious Angler Network in Cody Huff. So let's get Cody on here and we're going to chat all things jigging spoons. What's up, Cody?
Oh, not much, man. Just hanging out, a little deer camp action, just getting that last little bug out of the way before it's time to go fishing again.
And riding out a winter storm, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We got all here, so we're just hanging out in the warm right now.
Ah, lucky you. Have you seen how long you been in deer camp for now? A couple
Uh, we
days?
just we just got here yesterday before the storm got here, and it was pretty fun this afternoon. It's all pile of deer, 50, 60 deer, and getting all the right weather to bring a big one out, but haven't seen just any great big ones yet.
So, as somebody who is not a hunter at all, right? Like, what is a big deer in northern Missouri?
I mean, they're once you get like 150 plus incher, it's a good one. But the cool thing about up here is you have an opportunity to catch to run into an actual giant one, like 170 plus uh, kind of deer. So that's kind of what we're hoping to get lucky and do. That's why we're up here in this crazy weather, just hoping it makes them get up and want to go eat something.
Yeah, probably once the weather settles down, but the cold weather will make them move, right?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome tomorrow. The sun's going to shine, real high pressure, and I don't think it's going to get over like 10 or 12 degrees. So it's going to be picture perfect. We'll see what happens.
Not a great day to be throwing a stamped jigging spoon.
I probably would be if you keep your line from freezing, but I don't think
Yeah.
I.
To be honest, though, like when the weather gets cold like this, and if you have a sunny day, I feel like it doesn't freeze as bad as to where days are like cloudy and overcast and kind of miserable, you know? Oop.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like I fish all winter long for like migratory rainbow trout, and it's the same deal. When we have like those mid-teen days, I'm like, I really don't want to go unless it's sunny just because of the freezing aspect. They bite better when it's cold and cloudy and miserable out, but everything's more manageable when the sun is out. It feels 10, 15 degrees warmer sometimes.
Yeah, there's no fun about fishing on a dark, cold, cloudy day when your stuff stays froze the whole time. Yeah, it's just. I used to be mad at them enough that I would be out there, but anymore, I'm just like, man, I'll just wait on the sun to shine in.
You're like, why do I want to torture myself, right?
Exactly.
So, for those who don't know, I showed a picture from Omnia before I brought you on here of what a stamped jigging spoon is. But what makes a stamped jigging spoon so effective, and why is a tool, a piece of tool that everyone should have in their tackle box, not just all year round, but specifically in the winter?
Yeah, I mean it's such a simple bait. Um, it's hard to mimic a bait fish any better than a little stamp jigging spoon does. It's the perfect profile for anywhere where they eat threadfin or small fish. And I mean, whenever you drop a spoon into a school or in front of a fish, it's just a natural reaction for them to eat it because it looks like it's dying. And there's not many better ways to trigger them. And sometimes in the wintertime when it's cold like this, it takes something like that to make them react to bite.
Right. So, like, you have conditions, it's ice cold out, right? It's sunny or cloudy. When would you use a silver or a nickel plated stamp spoon or a gold one?
I like to use a white one whenever it's cloudy, and then either gold or silver in the sun usually.
And the fish dictate which one you're going to pick up in the gold or silver.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It just kind of, whatever you're in the mood for that day. I mean, it,
Doesn't matter about the fish, it's what you personally are in the mood to throw, is
yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
it does let you know if they like it or not. Of course, if I get a few that look at it and don't buy it, I'll switch. But most of the time I start with silver, and if they're weird or something, I'll try gold.
Fair enough. I kind of like the stamped aspect of it too, because it kind of refracts the light a little bit differently than just like a slender lead spoon, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a pretty cool bait. I mean, it's very simple, but it's the key to having a good spoon is when you get one that's just comes with good components on it. You don't have to, don't have to trade everything out on the spoon when you get it. It's a lot nicer when you get one. It's got a swivel on it, got a hook on it, good hook, good split ring, and one that's ready to go out of the box. I'm a big Dixie Jet guy. That's the brand I use most of the time. But a lot of them are very similar.
Yeah, is would you say probably the most important part would be having a swivel on the front, right? Or a split ring type deal to
Yeah,
stop the line from twisting and then some good hardware on the backside.
yeah, exactly. I like to have a good old a swivel on the front, like you were talking about. But and I want a good heavy duty one because a lot of times, we'll flip them in boat dock stalls and stuff like that on heavy line and drag them out of that, or even say you're around a lot of standing timber and you've got to kind of winch them out of it. It's nice to have stuff is not going to bend out.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what is your preferred setup then for throwing it around? Are you like because I know you use I think you said a half and a 7/8 ounce jigging
Yeah,
spoon, correct? And so like are you throwing it on casting gear or like a super heavy duty spinning rod?
yeah. So I always throw it on a bait caster. A lot of times I throw it on like a 6/8 medium, heavy. Johnny Morris is usually what I go to. Um, and I've got a pretty quick reel on it. I put an 8 3 to 1 reel on mine. And it just depends where I'm fishing, my line size. I'll go from as low as about 12 pound all the way up to 18.
Yeah. I love throwing it on like a 7 foot, like medium light and 12-pound test,
Yeah.
but it's gotta have a quick enough tip to make that thing snap.
Yeah.
So what is like your ideal presentation for it? Like, are you ripping it hard? Is it like more of a real burst, like and then crack the thumb bars so it falls? Like, how do you present this spoon?
Yeah. So whenever I fish it, a lot of times I'm using rope and I'm just trying to get it in a group of them. Once I kind of make the right cast and get it in front of them, a lot of times I'm just making like just picture holding your reel in your left hand, and a lot of times I'll grab the butt of my rod with my right hand and just make kind of really short, quick pops. And you just got to make sure you let that bait fall on a slack line. Um, and it's also a really good bait to kind of fish on the bottom, so you don't have any electronics. You can move out in some of those areas where you think fish are living on the bottom, and you know, work that thing the exact same way, and have a lot of luck catching fish on it.
Yeah, like some of my first experiences with like a stamp spoon is on 2D, watching it fall down into this fish in 2D and literally watching them react to it. And then there's nothing better when you go to lift and the rod just stays
Yeah, absolutely.
before forward facing sonar. And when it's a 6 pound smallmouth, it gets exciting quick. The
I
only
would,
thing that sucks is you lose a lot too.
yeah, you gotta be real careful with it. It's one of those baits. When you hook it, you better just keep winding because it can get sketchy fast.
Oh yeah, especially if you're throwing that 7/8 ounce, they come up wallowing at all. That thing flies.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're not even home and you're having some internet issues.
You hear me now?
I can hear you. You're a little frozen, but it's not a huge deal. Oh, we just lost Cody. So hopefully he comes back in here. He might have gotten a phone call or something. But I'll talk about one of my favorite fish catches ever with the stamp spoon while we're waiting for him to come back on. I was messing around out here in Lake Erie out of Buffalo, and I was like, "Oh, what can I catch them on today?" Because they were biting just about everything. So I tied up a stamped jigging spoon on my 7'6" medium heavy, like almost flipping stick, because I had 20-pound tests on. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And my third or fourth flip out 15, 20 feet from the boat, I was fishing a sand to rock transition, and I was ripping it, and I ended up catching a 6.5 pound smallmouth on it. And it was just insane. And I remember lose after that, I was like, I need to catch another one. So as I was ripping it, I ended up losing my next 4 or 5 fish on it because I was stop reeling. And Cody was just talking about when you hit them with it, just keep reeling and get them in the boat. But I think we have them back here. So let's see. We good?
I'm back. I don't know what happened there, but I'm back.
Eh, It technology. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I
So
bet.
I was just talking about like one of my favorite smallmouth catches on the stamp jigging spoon, and I'm just curious, like maybe what is your most memorable catch or like best memory while fishing the jigging spoon, the stamp jigging spoon?
Yeah, I've got all kinds of good memories of catching fish on it, this and that. But whenever I caught him on it in Texas in a Toyota series, the last day of the tournament, I caught him on it the whole time, and the last day of the tournament was just tough. It just we had to weigh in early, and the fish weren't out there good. It was in the springtime, so it got better as the afternoon went on. But I was running out of time, and finally I just saw this giant swarm of them. I mean, like 50 of them come swimming by the boat, and I pitched my spoon in there and caught like I don't even know how big it was. Is it like an 8 pounder? And catch it on the final day of the tournament, and kind of end up sealing the deal with it. And it's just kind of one I'll never forget catching on it.
Oh yeah, that I'd say that'd be right at the top of the list, right? Yeah, and that was during your little. I'm assuming that was part of your string of tournaments where you won a couple basically in a row, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Me and my buddy Pud, he's sitting over here right now. We won the week before that down there. We were in a college tournament, and it was so good. I was like, man, I got to go back and try because one of those deals. We were there just wasn't anybody else fishing for him. It was the perfect storm, and it was. I'm very glad I turned around and went back down there.
Yeah, don't blame you. That worked out great. So, for somebody that might be experienced in throwing a jigging spoon or want to learn how to throw it, right? Like, what would you recommend where they're approaching a new body of water? And where would you recommend them go and like start throwing the spoon around, right? Like, maybe the type of contour breaks or where on a body of water, on any body of water, doesn't have to be name specific, just like general areas where somebody can go and get some confidence throwing it.
Yeah, so I mean, I would keep it simple. I would you know find you a creek or something like that. That's probably where I would start. Find a big creek, look at your channel swing points, and places that have good steep breaks to them, and just go out there and start fishing that bait vertically. Just kind of work your way up and down the break or up and down the point, and even if you don't have live scope or anything, just move slow and work that thing. Let it hit the bottom, reel it up a crank or two, and to start working it. And you won't believe the number of fish that you'll kind of actually call in to you with it. And the fun thing about it is you catch one, you better hurry up and drop it back down there because a lot of times you're going to.
Yeah, there might be 7 or 8 more chasing that one into the boat, right?
Yeah, and you just never know what you're going to catch on it. That's my favorite thing. I mean, you might catch a big walleye or a perch or a bass or anything depending on where you're at, and it's just a fun bait is when you drop it and know that anything could eat it.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing I learned about on Erie out here in Buffalo is like I've caught walleye on it. I've caught big drum, giant smallmouth, white bass, yellow perch. It's just like, yeah, it mimics what they want to eat. Right.
Yes, that's exactly right. You can't beat it.
So if you were to break down like one crucial piece of advice for somebody that's on a body of water, like would you say that possibly finding like a school of bass that you know is bass and just experimenting with like presentation like is probably the most important thing?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you're not going to catch fish on it if you're fishing for fish. So, I mean, if you, spend time as you can getting around them, I mean, you're gonna like the bait a whole lot more if you know you're throwing.
No,
That's
no, I recommend everyone just go out in the abyss and start throwing it, right?
yeah,
Like you'll catch one eventually.
bad idea. You probably would, but bad idea.
You'll get lost in the trap like that one giant that you catch in practice and you're like, this is the deal. And then you're 4 hours into the derby and you're like, crap, I haven't had a bite yet.
Yeah.
Stupid fish.
Uh,
Oh man. So I guess like it's a relatively like simple thing to go through. So like what are like a few things that we didn't discuss yet that you would give as advice to our viewership to have some success? If there's anything else that you think we're missing.
just pay attention to your what season you're fishing in, and kind of use those seasonal patterns to help you find the bait fish. And once you get around all the bait fish, you're going to find the fish. That's number one key. You got to find what they're after, and even if you can't see the fish that might be hug tight to the bottom or whatever, just make sure you're in an area that's just loaded with bait,
Yeah.
and that's the best place to start.
Love it. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty quick. That was easy going there. But I'm curious if there's anything that you think we missed on, and if not, we can wrap it up here.
Man, it's a simple bait, simple setup. Don't beef it up if you're around heavy cover, and if you're not, you'll be just fine. 12 or 14 pound line, and your 7 foot medium heavy pole, and stay around the bait. You stay around the fish, and heck, whether you're catching dinner or catching them putting the live well, it's hard to beat a jigging spoon.
Yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway from this too is don't stop reeling. Actually, like try not to fight the fish, just overhaul the fish, right?
Yeah, I mean, if possible, I definitely would. I don't like putting just a ton of pressure on them, just so you don't rip a hole in their mouth. But I definitely keep constant pressure the whole time. I don't ever really quit reeling and let them just piddle around because it is a very it's a very tedious bait that you can lose them on. In tournaments where it's legal, a lot of guys put trailer hooks on the front of them, and that works too. But you
Yeah.
better might hook two, and it might lose them both. But that's kind of you're feeling a little gutsy. You never know. It might be a little fun.
Yeah. I guess that would work well if you're like perch or white bass fishing.
Yeah, probably would.
Get two of those at one time. I do have one last question here. Like, if you had to change out the trebles, like what size treble, and then what brand would you recommend people to use on it? Because you have EWGs, you have round bends,
Yeah,
you have all kinds of different ones out there now.
yeah. I like just a good round bend. I've always used just the VMC round bends and like a number two or a number four. I usually go up a size as long as it don't tangle on your line. You'll be good. Um, but I mean, I keep it really simple. I don't try to overcomplicate it because it's not a complicated bait. You know what I mean? Kind
Yeah,
of, it's something that's been around since people started fishing, and it'll be around until people stop fishing. And you're gonna keep catching fish the whole time.
nothing like pinging a minnow.
That's what they say. I've been told.
Well, Cody, I want to say thank you for joining us here. I want to wish you the luck tomorrow and go shoot a big old buck. And then you got to get ready for the season, right? So good luck in 2025 and go catch them up. And I'm sure we'll be chatting with you soon.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We'll chat soon, buddy. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode here on the Lure Lab, talking stamped jigging spoons with Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Cody Huff. I mean, I remember when he busted onto the scene real quickly there, and he he did pretty good catching them right before he moved over to the Bassmaster Elite Series. So it was good to learn from Cody here. Hopefully, this episode helps you catch more bass and put a bunch more fish in the boat for you. And that War Eagle one that I showed will be linked down below, including the VMC treble hooks that we talked about. If you're new on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, please. We greatly appreciate it. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform and it allows you to leave a review, please do that. That allows the Lure Lab and the Serious Angler Network to be seen by more people who are interested and love bass fishing. But until next week, We will see you then.